Hi guys, welcome to Tarot in the Dark. My name is Tori. Tonight we are going to just do a collective reading. I want to just see what the ancestors have to say. You probably are feeling this intense energy that we have floating around us. As of today, I'm recording the reading. Tomorrow, where I live, we will enter into Cancer season. And so I'm just hoping that, things will shift and we will feel a little less of I'm personally feeling a ton of Mars energy. Mars is the planet of war, of aggression, of anger. And I'm looking in my book here. This is the Magic of I book. If you guys are curious, I use it all the time. But I'm looking to see what transits could possibly have us in this energy. But there's something huge going on. I think I've explained to you guys several times, I'm not an astrologer, but I can feel intuitively and empathically when something is shifting in the planet, and it does feel like there's a weeding and a sorting that's taking place. In my opinion, this has been happening for the last 2 years or so, but this feels a little more intense, and it feels very aggressive in the way that we lean into our healing. Okay, so what I'm assuming that has to do with is the fact that Chiron entered into Taurus on the 19th, which would be yesterday, when I'm recording the reading. And what that does is that highlights the areas of our lives that require healing, that we are leaving untouched, like that we aren't tangibly creating a practical path forward with, if that makes any sense. Okay, so I think we're going to just ask the ancestors what messages they have for us. I'm going to just leave it open. I want to allow them to freely come in and do as they wish. And I want us to just be open to receiving whatever messages come through. But just know that through this transition, through Chiron being in Taurus, that is going to represent us being able to actualize the areas in our lives that require, need, or are asking for our attention. And obviously we have a choice. We have free will. We can do whatever it is that we decide, but the hope is that that energy will benefit us. It does feel very heightened in this moment. Also too, I'm feeling, like I said, a ton of Mars energy, which all I see in Mars is on the 27th, that Mars sextiles Jupiter, and Mars does not like Jupiter because they're kind of like opposites, right? Like Mars doesn't like to be in like the softer planets. And so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to play out, but just heads up guys, we're going to just dig in. There is a Mercury retrograding on the 29th. That's interesting. That'll be interesting. I'm going to just dig in and see what comes out. Okay, so since we are discussing astrology, let's start with the astrology deck. I am noticing that at the bottom of the deck here, as this is one of the decks that I was planning to use for the reading, I will, but I noticed that it has the spring card underneath the deck here, and I keep hearing that there's a shift and a change in the seasons. Okay, so the 6th house energy is the first card out. Okay, and then we have Virgo. Wow. Okay, we're duplicating efforts. So that is immediately screaming at the fact that there's something very, very, very practical that our ancestors are wanting us to see. I do think it's interesting that the 10th house energy here is at the bottom of the deck. The 10th house is Capricorn energy, which we know Capricorn in traditional tarot is the card of the devil. And so I'm picking up on this, speaking to the fact that there are intense energies around. They're showing me this as South Node, which is interesting, but they're showing that 10th house as South Node. There are things from our past. There are experiences in our past that have been nagging, agonizing, taunting, restrictive energies. So these are shadow parts of ourselves that have been keeping us stuck in the past, or we've been attached to these energies. Okay, they're speaking to something about that, and it's because we haven't been able to find a practical approach to assessing, analyzing, or dealing with those things. There's almost like a lesson here that they're trying to bring up. It's almost the way that they're even delivering it to me, as if like I'm the student and they're the teacher, but it's like they're showing me a chalkboard, So this is also indicative of the fact that whatever this is has been agonizing to you as a person as well. So like even you are just over this. Whatever this is for you, you're over it. You're even seeking a change in the seasons because this is something that has been unresolved within you, but challenging you in everyday life, because Virgo energy is also representative of, I always consider Virgo energy as our ADLs, activities of daily living. If you don't know, during the day I'm a nurse, so ADLs, activities of daily living. These are the things that you do when you wake up in the morning, right? How you comb your hair, you brush your teeth, the first thing you do in the morning. Do you wash your face? Do you put oil on your face? Do you wipe your butt, from front to back or back to front? It's the very practical day-to-day activities that we do that allow us to operate as our individual selves, because that's another thing that Virgo is representative of, like the Nine of Pentacles. This is an energy of you being one who's able to independently operate and function, but it's how you individually operate and function. Now they're showing me the science behind this. So there's something about this energy that needs a very practical approach while keeping in mind that it has some type of force attached to it. And when I say force, it's speaking to the fact that the devil, the 10th house energy, is attached to this. Capricorn energy can get caught up in doing and be challenged by basically like being a worker bee, but not actually able to sit with and still yourselves to be able to assess and analyze what's going on to clear things up. Does that make any sense, guys? I feel like I'm really like saying a lot of words and I feel like I ain't saying nothing, but it's like, I guess something is coming out, but it's just like a lot to me. This is how this feels. It feels chaotic. And I was even thinking about when this card came out, the smoke. I'm like, I feel like I'm in a cloud of smoke right now. But I think that this is the energy that we are being faced with in this moment, is that these emotions, these unhealthy attachments that we have had as a collective have felt very chaotic and unclear to us, almost as if we are clouded or jaded in some sense, is what I'm hearing, by the chaos and the smoke. And it's preventing us from being able to see how attached we are to this energy or these energies and how it is keeping us stuck, because that's what the devil energy does. Now, the awesome thing about the 10th house energy, the very positive thing about Capricornian devil energy, is it gets stuff done. It makes stuff happen, but it takes a lot for it to stop, pull back, sit with its emotions, sit with its feelings, and also sit with itself in order to be able to practically come up with ways of handling emotional challenges. Now, like I said, Capricorn's going to make it happen. Capricorn's going to get it done. However, it's very challenging. Ask me how I know, because in Vedic astrology, I am a Capricorn and I have a ton of Capricorn in my chart. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this, but I had a Vedic astrologer do a reading on me. She's freaking amazing. Her name is Rani. Anyways, she told me, girl, like, oh my God. She was like, you have so much Capricorn in your chart. This is insane. She was like, basically like, she feels bad for me. And I'm like, don't, because I'm going to make stuff happen and I'm going to get it done. So if you're a Cappy out there, you're not alone. And just know that no matter what, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. So let's just put this to the side. I don't know. I just needed to encourage a Cappy out there. I feel like Capricorns, there's certain signs I feel like get like super bad reps. And it's like, no, like all signs have positive, negative, light and dark. We can find something beautiful about every single one of us and then something freaking crazy about every single one of our signs. So there aren't any like hierarchical better signs than another sign, like that's just not a thing. But anyways, so let's just kind of dig into this fumus, this smoke energy for a second. So there's something that's going to shift and change. That's what I'm picking up on right away. They're showing me a 5. So there's something that's going to change in this energy as, ooh, interesting. They're saying as you establish a direction. You know, they're showing this here as like this being a little, imagine this is like a ball and it's just rolling around. So imagine this will just kind of sway whatever way, almost like a pendulum type thing is how they're showing it. It's like this will sway this way, it'll sway that way, it'll flop this way. They're saying it's because you're not choosing a specific direction because you're afraid of the smoke. The lack of clarity that you have in regards to whether or not you can trust where you're going or whatever this specific situation is for you is creating a fume, a smoke ball. Okay, so it's almost like a smoke bomb. And so they're showing this as this little ball here contains the fumes, it contains the smoke. And as long as it's twiddling around, lollygag, like they're saying the word lollygagging, but what they're saying is that it's just kind of like swaying wherever direction it wants to go. It has no direction due to a lack of trust. They're saying that very clearly. So that has something to do with the inability to be practical about it. There's something that you are moving towards. There's a direction. Now they're bringing me back to the weeding, how they're weeding the collective, right? Separating and dividing those who are choosing to walk the path versus those who are choosing to stay in their shadow selves. Okay, so you know, this is something I think that goes on frequently, but this seems like a mass awakening, a mass sorting through that has been occurring over the last couple of years. And just my own personal opinion, not that it matters, but I'm going to say it because somebody may need to hear it. My personal opinion is that this is exactly what the Bible talks about when the Bible speaks to the fact that the angels will come and that they will weed out and they will separate and divide. And I personally think that that's what's been happening in the world in the last 2+ years. And I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. I've never heard anybody else say that. It's just what I think. I don't know. Do what you want to do with it. But anyways, there's something about that as the weeding is taking place, as the angels are coming through to weed out and assess and analyze us individually as individuals, was what I was trying to say. We are like almost given like a smoke bomb. It's almost like an intentional smoke bomb is being placed in front of us, and it's creating a ton of like chaos. And it's because it's giving us the opportunity to choose the path that we really want. So we're being invited to take advantage of this mass awakening by assessing whether or not we want to be a part of a collective that is alert and aware, or if we want to be a part of a collective that stays vibing in their lower shadow selves. And so it seems so aggressive and so abrasive because it's like, God, I have to actually take everything that I've been learning and put it into action. And that's the hard part, I think, for almost all of us. I mean, I think a lot of us are able to pick up on tools, resources. We can gain a lot of wisdom. We can gain a lot of insight. We can, say, oh my gosh, I see this area of my life. This needs to be corrected. But how does it actually show up in your life in a very practical way? And that's what the ancestors are busting us out on. And guys, this reading is not just for you guys. It's for me. It's for all of us. We are all, every single one of us, guilty of believing that we're healing and doing the work and then not actually putting our money where our mouths are. And that's what they're saying. The ancestors are calling us out to be practical about the approach. And they're saying that as long as we continue to choose a direction that is not for our highest good, because that's what's happening. So it's almost as if like we're, and it's not a failing. It's not a like messing up. It's not a like, oh my God, we suck. It's not that. It's more so like as we allow our humanity and the shadow parts of our humanity to overtake the light within us. Because that's how this feels. This feels like a reading where there's a society that's becoming more and more aggressive due to these transits that are taking place. The people who are aware should know how to respond, right? We should all know how to respond. But for some of us, we could find ourselves operating as the rest of the world is, right? Like maybe we're operating from our shadow self because we're sick and tired of people. And this is literally like being called out. where it's like the ancestors are like, listen, we're not dealing with this anymore. Like, we need you guys to make a decision, and you can choose what you want, but the choice that you make is going to assess and determine, you know, a specific outcome, right? To every cause, there's an effect. And so it's almost like they're saying, until you choose your higher self, which seems to me to be like this Aries, which is this copper energy. It feels very enlightened to me. Okay, so it's like they're saying, as long as you choose the smoke that's sitting and stuck in that chaos over your ability to choose this copper, which is enlightenment and awareness and, you know, growth. I'm also seeing some really, really, really deep, like cleansing, healing energy here. Something that is stable, something that is capable of like pursuing better, choosing better. The smoke and the fumes are going to stay as long as we choose the lower self versus the shadow. And so this is truly an invitation to switch the perspective from smoke and mirrors to a more holistic approach. I don't know what that means. A more holistic approach. I mean, I know what holistic means, but it's like, I don't know how they're trying to say it to me. It feels like they're saying a more holistic approach is one that engages more than just yourself, more than just your emotions. It's the ability to bring in your thoughts. It's the ability to assess, you know, your feelings with your thoughts. And are they valid? Are they lies? You know, are they triggers from this devil energy, 10th house energy? Are they lower self, shadow, insecurities, wounds? You know, like how are we being triggered? How are we showing up? What fumes are being presented to us, and are we able to clear the fumes is what I'm hearing. Are we able to clear and cleanse the fumes? Like, do we allow the fumes to block our ability to be balanced? This card is a win-win outcome is in the forecast. This is a full moon in Libra. I love this because this is just signifying, and it's saying that if we choose, like, I love how this like fell over here and then this fell over here. I love how this is speaking to the fact that if we choose to stand it, and I don't know what this copper card means. I don't know what that smoke card means. We'll look at them and just kind of peruse through the guidebook and see what shows up. But it's like, if we would bring love into the situation, then we would win no matter what. And this is the new moon in Aquarius. This is the beginning that they're asking us to step into. You know, new moons are all about beginnings, and the full moons are about releasing. And so it's like they're asking us to release the idea that there's no winning in operating from a place of love. Wow, this is powerful. I did not know that this like humanitarian type of reading was going to be what this is today, guys. But that's exactly how this feels. They're calling us to a greater, higher purpose, and they're pulling more out of us because they're saying that for the collective, for others to be able to lean into and to gain access to the resources and the opportunities, experiences, the manifestations that we have been able to live in, we have to be able to operate different from them. There's something about separating and dividing, but being able to be called out for a purpose. And so if you're listening to this, you are a leader and someone who God is choosing to use in this time. And it's almost like this is like this opportunity to rise, to where your ancestors are saying, like, I didn't go through everything that I went through for you to sit here and just succumb to this fume. You know, like to allow the fumes and the chaos that are going on around you to not allow yourself to glow. It's also, they're also showing me something about like copper. Is copper or is it bronze? Is copper like, no, it's silver, gold, and bronze. I think bronze is copper. So they're like, we didn't bring you here to take third place. Choosing your shadow self is third place because you're not allowing yourself to operate in the capacity that you're able to. It's almost like you're, you know, this huge container and you're shrinking yourself down to this size container. And I'm just going to say we, because this is true for me too. We shrink ourselves down due to the fact that we're not operating from a space of love. And you know, the opposite of Aquarian light attributes are their shadow attributes, which are very destructive, Uranian energy. You know, Aquarians will be the ones that'll come after you with vengeance because they feel, you know, capable of handling it on their own. I'm laughing because I have an Aquarius moon. But, you know, it's like they're asking us to not operate from that space. The water bearer is one who is able to carry the weight of the emotions with intelligence, but it's mental intelligence, because Aquarian energy is about the mind. It's about the ability to think and perceive with clarity, due to a higher purpose, because the light attributes of an Aquarian would be a philosopher, a humanitarian, one who sees the larger picture. And I also think this is interesting too, because we're moving into the age of Aquarius this year. And as we move into the age of Aquarius, the injustices in this world are being reversed. There's a reversal of the injustices. And this is a part of recompense, which is also interesting, because the ancestors are speaking to us right now. And they spoke that to me at the beginning of the year, that this would be the year of recompense. And so there's something about this year where there's a shift that's taking place, and this is the sorting and the weeding. But in order for us to be able to be balanced, in order for us to be able to receive, in order for us to be able to operate in the spaces that we're supposed to step into those rooms and those experiences, those opportunities that we're destined for, we must operate from a space of love. And that is how we can guarantee that a win-win outcome is in our forest. It's through our forecast. It's through balance and through the forest. That's also the way to see the trees and the beauty. So, you know, like the saying, you can't see the trees through the forest. Well, there's something about missing the opportunities and the experiences of now, because we're overlooking them due to some type of wounds, rather than looking at them from a very practical approach and a practical perspective of the stance that things are shifting in the world. And as things shift, I must shift as well, because they're showing me something about stagnancy, about comfortability, about being comfortable and feeling too safe in a situation that is keeping us stuck, keeping us small, keeping us stagnant. About engaging in situations where you may think that you've changed, but missing the very practical part of it, which is that there has to be a shift in your perspective, your energy, and a balance in the way that you operate. There's something about enlightenment, awareness, bringing something to like fruition as far as being able to see something differently. Once the direction is chosen, once you have chosen which path you want to take, whether or not you're going to rise or you're going to allow this to dissolve you, meaning you'll stay in your shadow self, or you're going to operate from your higher self and rise above this, push through, create practical steps and ways and processes to be able to overcome these challenges, this chaos that is currently presenting itself in the world, the web that you feel individually in your day-to-day lives. Like, I take 10 steps forward and then it's 2 steps back. Things just seem to not be changing and shifting. I'm giving this everything that I have. I've tried to do the right thing several times, and every time I do, something goes wrong, something fails. I mess up, someone else messes up. It's those energies that keep you in the energy of defeat is really what I'm picking up on with that 10th house energy. And they're asking us to dissolve those, to choose the direction that is going to lead to success, to victory, and to this win-win forecast, because powerful changes are taking place. Okay, whether you're feeling them, seeing them, or experiencing them, they absolutely are taking place. And there's just an ask for us to allow. There's something about allowing and supporting the energies rather than resisting them. Because for some individuals, the chaos and the smoke and fumes that come with this energy could have led you to believe that things are not going to change, but it also could be very exhausting to you. It can be very exhausting to you. And so that's interesting, because the persistence card is here. It's almost like they're asking us to be persistent. But you know, persistent is not about just being dedicated to something. It's also about being able to persevere, like pushing through to actually accomplish that with which you set forth to do, right? I think this is very interesting. This is almost giving me the energy of a bride who's wearing a black gown. But she also looks like she has like these devil horns attached to her. You see like the back of her head? So there's something here about not being weary and doing the right thing. And also not stopping doing something once you've started it due to feeling like it's unsuccessful. Because I do think that whatever the situation is for you, and I'm not going to ask for any specifics, but whatever, because there's so many different scenarios, but whatever the situation may be for you, it feels to me like you've probably asked or tried to change and to do things differently, and it just seems like nothing is changing. I think you feel like you're trying, but you're doing everything that you can, but nothing is changing within you. And so they're showing me with that veil that the veil is the same as the smoke and as the chaos here, that it's just because you're not seeing this from a practical approach. So let's see if we can get some information. All right, so we have the Creator. Ooh, you guys, they just told me something so serious. I'm going to tell you in a second. The Hangman. I think my whole deck's upside down, just heads up. And the Nine of Cups. You know what they said right away? Is that you're the creator of your reality. And your reality is being created by every choice that you make. And that is so interesting because the Hangman is all about reflection, but it's about seeing things from a different perspective. And you know, the Hangman for me always represents the ability to be uncomfortable in situations that you should be, or being comfortable in situations that you should be uncomfortable in. You know how like you've had a couch that you've had for 20 years and the couch is like sunk in. People sit on the couch and they fall and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm basically sitting on the ground. And the couch is so comfortable to you. You're like, oh my God, I've had this couch for so long. I love it. But for everybody else, it's just like a pain in the butt. And it's to the point to where you're sitting on the ground, but you just think it's comfortable because you're used to it. It's the same situation here. We've been comfortable in operating from spaces that we've been comfortable in. That is also the Nine of Cups energy. It's overindulging in something that should be released from you. It's almost like that the situation is the same as this rope that's wrapped around the Hangman's ankle. So it's like you've had this version of you, this attitude, this snarkiness, this sarcasm. I'm just naming things that could possibly be, you know, in us. A negative attitude, you know, just being ticked off, just you know, believing that things are going wrong for you. It's like whatever it is for you, just never being satisfied. Whatever it is for you. Or you've just been waiting. Okay, let's talk about that. Because the Hangman can represent that too. You're like, I'm just waiting for something to happen. And it just won't happen. And the ancestors are like, well, it's not happening because you're creating the energy of this smoke and chaos rather than operating from the space of victory with copper. And I don't know why I feel like that copper energy is all about victory. It doesn't feel like a third place position to me. It feels like the winner. The card is screaming at me as being grounded, stable, energized, fulfilling, victorious. But the reality that you're creating has not been established in joy and optimism and happiness. Instead, it's been almost like embellished is what they're saying, in disappointment, dissatisfaction, inconsistency, smoke, fumes, chaos, conflict, a lack of engagement, right? Feeling attached to all the wrong things rather than attaching yourself to the right things. They're calling the heck out of us today, guys. Let me just say that. The ancestors, they're like, let me just tell you, you like to hear it, here it go. That's how this reading feels. It's like, they're like, you wanted to know? I'm going to let you guys know. And so what's being brought to to our attention is the fact that if we want things to shift, we have to be the shifter. And that starts with us practically shifting our attitude from one of dismay, dissatisfaction, into one who is full of joy, hope, faith, belief that things are working out for us. I think that for most of us, this is rooted in some type of disappointment in partnerships and connections to other people, whether it be business, romance, family, etc. There's something about those things tainting our perspective and our vision. And they're showing me that because they're saying that her inability to continue to persist, and this is like the Four of Cups energy with the devil attached to it, is like, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I don't have anything else to give because I've already tried to give it and it's beat me up. Life has already defeated me. Yeah, I don't know what I'm saying, y'all, but okay, you get it. So it's almost like the energy of she can't see things clearly because her perspective has been tainted. Her perspective has been tainted, and that's why they brought the creator card out here to say we are the creators. So if your perspective is tainted, shift your perspective. Okay, give us some practical ways to do this. Let me use this deck. How can we shift our perspective after it's been tainted? Let's get this advice. Look at the copper and the smoke card, and then we'll close out the reading. Oh, the Ace of Cups is at the bottom of the deck. I could have swore I just saw the Lovers. The Ace of Cups is here. I'm going to put that right there. That is so crazy. I thought the Lovers card was at the bottom of the deck. Let me move these. Oh, no. Maybe they put that there. They must have wanted us to see that. So something about self-love, choosing, gambling. See, with gambling, you have to make a choice. Every time you gamble, you have to make a choice. The choice is either to choose, like you have to choose how you play your cards. That's what they're showing me. Wow. And then look at the bottom of the deck here, start a new life. So they're saying that there's a choice that's being offered. I'm going to just put this here. Why not? The choice that's being offered is for you to, this Ace of Cups is also about new beginnings, but it's about opening up to love, and they're bringing love into the situation. Allow yourself to choose love rather than fear, because when you gamble, if you're afraid, you could potentially risk losing everything. You have to gamble with confidence. I don't know, I'm not a gambler, but I've heard that. You have to gamble with confidence and trusting that what you put out is going to be returned back to you. But this is also something that they're bringing up. They're saying if this has to do with relationships, if you're afraid to step into new experiences and you feel like life hasn't been good to you, so you're responding in old ways because you're afraid that things aren't going to work out for your good in the future, that also is a part of life. Life is about gambling, and you have to shift your perspective. And what they're saying is, especially when it comes to matters of the heart, if you're unwilling to gamble and risk potentially gaining high wins, right? Victories, life-changing financial gains. And I'm not speaking actually about money. This is metaphorically like reaping the harvest of the love of your life, business partner of your dreams, like entering into a family full of in-laws that you absolutely adore. Even the last ones drove you nuts, whatever your situation is. There's something about being willing to take a risk in areas of your life without fear of the same things happening to you over again. And for someone, this has to do with simply the way that you interact with the world. The world has been unkind to you. The world has defeated you, often made you feel less than, unseen, unrecognized, unnoticed. There's a ton of those energies showing up lately as well, because believe it or not, there's a societal shift where all of the powers that be that have been keeping groups of people in lower spaces, those energies are shifting as well. I mean, I just told my mom, I think yesterday, I would not anticipate that life be the same as it is now for us today, that it would be in 50 years. And I mean, I'm not speaking of like small changes. I literally, visually, intuitively can see that our world is going to be completely different. And so I don't know exactly what that looks like, because I'm not someone that's even into stuff like that. I just know that God just showed me that, and I've heard a lot of like astrologers bring up little things that are happening right now, and I'm like, that is so in alignment with like what I see later down the line. But anyways, I'm bringing that up to say that this is a risk that has to be decided upon, and the decision that you make will decide whether or not the smoke fumes clear. And what they're saying is that the decision that you make is going to shift your perspective, either for your higher or lower self. Okay, it's almost like the secret chamber here is suggesting that the best way to handle this situation, the best way to come out of the old way of being and step into the new, is to see it as a different chamber. Okay, if you're in the library and then you push the shelf and it takes you into the secret chamber, you're no longer in the same room. So they're saying something about understanding that you're no longer in the same space, that there's a new space that has been created for you. Most of us, this is something that we've prayed for. And so as we step into these new experiences, these new connections, partnerships, or even just more love for self, there's an ask that we be willing to gamble by giving up those old versions of us that are keeping us attached to an inability to see the world through the lens of love and to shift into the new. This is crazy. And when we do, they're saying very clearly that there will be powerful changes that will take place. So the very practical way to handle this is to see this through a different lens, to take on a new identity, and to be optimistic about the path forward. That's the choice that they're inviting us to take. And when we take that choice, we're going to notice, we're going to notice that the smoke and the chaos, the fumes will dissolve, and we'll be able to step into the copper energy here, where there's success and victory. Oh my gosh, this is powerful. Wow, guys, I went to the book to find the copper card so we can read it and look at what it says. Fertility, the womb, and Venus. Look at this, just the highlights: love, pleasure, and fertility. This is the victory, the success. This is amazing. In ancient times, on an island called Cyprus, copper was mined extensively to make vessels and tools. This island is the same fertile ground of Aphrodite, the goddess associated with the planet Venus and the forces of love, pleasure, and fertility. Such is the magic of copper. This golden-hued metal elicits delight and mystique, even a sense of awe. The copper card marks the arrival of Eros, into the laboratory. It is likely the alchemist has been hard at work for too long, prioritizing scholarly pursuits over sensual pleasures. Get ready for a shift of priorities, for an awakening of the heart and the life-generating centers of the body. Guys, this is so amazing and so in alignment. In the true alchemical experiment, nothing is excluded or separate from the work. Bring sensuality into the fold and embrace it with reverence and curiosity. Aphrodite smiles upon you. Wow, 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 wow. This says chocolate contains copper. I never knew that. That is amazing. But guys, I think this symbol here is Chiron. I want to say, I don't know. If you guys know, drop it in the comments. But I think I've seen something like that for Chiron. And I don't know. Either way, it's appearing to me in that way to say that this is what this is about. This is about healing the heart. It's about healing the heart from pain, grief, sadness, and restrictive patterns that have kept us stuck in the past. And we're being offered an opportunity to step into a new life. This copper card is about victory, because when we're able to bring love into the situation, we are operating from our highest selves, and we are closest to the divine that we can possibly be when we operate from that space. The shadow is detachment from the divine, in a sense that not completely where the divine is gone or separated from us, but it's a detachment because it pulls us away from the divinity within and allows us to, or gives us the experience of operating from our shadow selves. You know, you notice that the further and further away you go from God, the further and further you feel like he's a thing, right? And so it's almost that energy. And so they're saying in order to clear the smoke and the fumes, we must operate from a space of love and understand that we've been comfortable operating from a place of hate, however that translates for you. And now it's time for us as a people, as a collective, and as a whole to operate from a space of love. You know what is interesting too is I was seeing Lumerian energy in this copper card. And I don't know much about Lumeria, but what I will say is that Lumeria is known as like an underground, kind of like an island or a place that was present before pain and turmoil entered into the world. And this is, and I only know this from like reading a couple of things about this based on some dreams I've had, but there's an idea that people who are of the Lumerian people who were ancestors or, you know, members of the Lumerian community are being called back to that. And this is so fascinating to me because whether you believe it or not, there absolutely is a call for us to return to a state of, for me, I want to say like osmosis, but it's not. It's a state of euphoria, okay? Don't ask me why osmosis is what I was thinking about, but it's the homeostatic state, right? Where we are the most balanced and established as a people through the lens of love. It's the euphoria and euphoric idea of believing that there can be peace and harmony amongst us, that there would be no hate for stupid things such as color or social status or, you know, whatever other dumb things people come up with to not like people. It's the idea that that is something that we can physically touch. And it feels very beautiful to operate from this space of love. And it is very challenging to stay in that state when you're constantly being met with the smoke. However, this reading is beautiful because it feels, the energy feels very light on the other side in the new experience once the choice is made to step out of the smoke and not find ourselves in the smoke. Because it's almost like they're showing me that that smoke bomb can come from just people around us, right? Like maybe there are people in this world who are meant to like throw smoke bombs at us. Think about that. Like if somebody is just intentionally put here to like throw smoke bombs at all the empaths and the people who are, you know, like trying to spread love, wouldn't that make sense? That it would come in to cause disruption. But if we don't engage in that and we remind ourselves that this is a smoke bomb that is sent to attempt to knock me off course, but I'm going to choose to remain as this copper and find myself on this Greek island where I'm full of these euphoric ideas and thoughts that love does exist and it exists because of you, right? Wow. Okay. I don't know what else I can say. I'm going to end the reading there, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I hope this made sense. I appreciate you. I love you all. Thank you so much. Feel free to drop a comment if you would. Like and subscribe if you choose to. And I'll see you next time. We'll have another pick a card next week, guys. See you soon. Bye.